right, hey, good afternoon, everyone. Jacques Doucet here with the great veteran Jimmy Yott. Jimmy, thanks for coming by, man. Great to see you today.
Thank you, Jacques.
3 decades, right? Covering sports here, at least, right?
Yeah, on my third. This will be our 31st year covering the LSU Tigers. It's Curly Hallman's first year, so if you can make it through that that era, you probably survive. So a good sign that you might be able to survive. So yeah, all in Baton Rouge.
And Jimmy, how the times have changed. Jimmy Yott, he got, Curly Hallman got 4 years at LSU, 4 losing seasons. Ed Orgeron, the greatest season in LSU history, less than 2 years later, he's out.
I think the greatest season in college football history. At least the data speaks to that. I mean, they beat the most top 10 teams. They beat the most teams that finished in the top 10. It's not even close. The closest was a 1995 Nebraska team. They didn't have conference championship games to play another top 10 team and maybe a national semifinal, but still it doesn't compare. And they were so dominant, and no opponent in 2019 had the ball in the second half in a 1-possession game. And there's championship hangovers, and then there's a COVID championship hangovers with all kinds of social issues and things like that. And it was way too much for the staff to just kind of take it into stride. So it's tough when everybody's patting you on the back, telling you how great you are, and that's part of it. You lose your hunger, and last year with the 2020 season was kind of a throwaway of sorts. I mean, Mel Tucker and Dave Aranda not nearly as good in Waco and East Lansing that they are right now, but Orgeron didn't get a throwaway season in 2020.
Yeah, Jimmy, and opting out kind of became in vogue. I mean, we had had Leonard Fournette in the past in a couple of instances, but really it became kind of the thing to do. And Jamar Chase, I guess you can't second guess that one bit, but there were some other guys that, hey, man, you could have played, I think.
Well, it was Jamar Chase, and listen, everybody's personal decision as far as we were all trying to learn things with COVID, okay? That's the first thing. He was going to be a top 5 pick because, look how great a year Diggs is having for Dallas as a defensive back. He's probably, he's first team All-Pro for sure right now. It might be your defensive player of the year. And Jamar just big brothered him in Tuscaloosa. He did it to C.J. Henderson, a top 10 pick in Florida. He did it against a bunch of guys. So he did it against the highest guys that already were drafted in the spring of 2020, so it wasn't a ton of reason for him to come back. He struggled in the training camp in the preseason because he was so rusty, but he's gotten back and he's really having a great year, and he's probably going to be offensive rookie of the year. He's at least even money, in some of the shops right now. But no, whoever came up with the term opt out made it much easier to quit, because this is just what it is.
Yeah.
And so how you can kind of opt out or quit on your team. Then we went from 3-4 to 4-3, so the nose tackles are out that we tried to get for so long. And and then you're looking at a place like Tuscaloosa, no opt-outs. They already have a handful of guys that could have gone very high in the draft that came back for another year. Surprisingly, no positive COVID tests, minus the coach for one game.
Yeah.
And so, it's just part of that thing where, and when people talk about, they're trying to compare the 2020 Bama season to LSU, it's kind of I don't want to overreact to anything that happened too much in 2020, whether it's a football or anything else.
Well, Jimmy, with no atmosphere, no stadiums, full. It's just, it was a Frankenstein year. Now, Jimmy's here. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about the latest and greatest with LSU football. We got some videos we can play out of this studio. This is called the OTT, which is appropriate because Jimmy Yott is here today. And Jimmy, so this is the same LSU team that went to UCLA and got stomped when they had all their players to start the year. They go to Kentucky and get doubled up. It was 35-7 in the third quarter. They go to Ole Miss. Ole Miss fumbled at the goal line. That score should have been bigger than what it was. And Alabama is the best team that they have played to date. LSU's got guys that were at Nichols a couple of years ago who were contributing. People are telling me 28 points. That what, in the first half? Alabama's just this could be a bloodbath. And of course, once again, you never know. We'll play some video here of Ed Orgeron and company. Ed ran to the wrong sideline to start the game, but man, his team gave an inspired effort despite losing 20-14.
I missed this on the game, but come on, baby, get to the right side, my man. So, hey, at least he had his team ready to play. you know, the guys that are playing, they play with a lot of pride. And, you know, it took me a little time, but I mean, as the game went on, and then Bama scored 3 straight touchdowns, you're like, okay, they're kind of pulling away. And then LSU responded, and then LSU had several chances, or multiple chances late in the game to take the lead. So this has been the best on-field rivalry. No, nothing touches Auburn, Alabama as far as the fans and all that stuff. Then it was Miami, Florida State in the 90s and maybe maybe the 90s and late 80s as far as the best on-field talent rivalry, the most pros. But currently, Alabama has the most pros. Currently, LSU has the 3rd most players in the pros right now. And LSU from 13 to 17 had the most. So this has been the best on-field rivalry as far as pro talent. This game did not really produce that. This week, LSU doesn't have a ton of pros on their team, and Alabama, well, struggled against LSU. We know what happened against College Station. Struggle against Florida, who's 2-5 in the league. Not quite the dominant team that we think we're used to with Saban. You know, it's Georgia and kind of everybody else, and it was thought to be Georgia, Bama, and everybody else. It appears that Georgia and everybody else right now.
And Jimmy, we're taking a look at Coach O. He certainly was having a lot of fun with this game. Perhaps maybe he knows that as a head coach, he's never going to be in a game this big again. He's still got 3 games left to coach out the string at LSU. But certainly Monday he said, look, I know what was said about me, and certainly the Roll Tide What comments that were live streamed in the locker room 2 years ago were blown up. And I think the people that showed up at Bryant-Denny Stadium expected a crucifixion of LSU.
I can't get on him for that.
Yeah.
What happens in the locker room should be sacred.
Yeah.
That should not be publicized. And so, I mean, it sure fired up the locker room. I mean, you know, so it was a tremendous accomplishment. And it was a little bit that some emotions had to be going through because it is the return at the scene of his greatest victory. I mean, even the Clemson win, Oklahoma was a joke. Georgia was just that was a formality. They were still getting in the playoff, but beating Bama, that's the only game they're underdog in, Jack.
Yeah, I think it was 7 points or something.
It was like 6-7, something like that. Yeah. So, you know, to go in there and beat them handily. I'm sure it just stirred up.
Yeah, we had some debate.
I was a little curious with how he was playing with the fans and running the wrong side and doing the first down and things like that. It was almost a little, one step short, even a little grass.
Yeah, I'd had some debate with Jimmy about 2019, and I said, look, you obviously have to beat Clemson to win the national title, but I thought the biggest moment of the year was beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa because that was always the mental block. That was no matter if you beat Texas on the road or Florida. Yeah. Yeah, and the game you hadn't been able to win in so many years. So.
It's your toughest game, the only one you're underdog. That's deep in the season, too. It's not like you're playing them early in the year. It's, like Texas was a top 10 team. Texas was nothing close to a top 10 team at the end of the year. This is in November, and so this is a big deal. On the road, was it 1 versus 2?
I think it was 2 versus 3. The playoff maybe had just come out. I looked that up the other day. Maybe Clemson was number 1 or Ohio State.
Maybe so.
Yeah,
it may have been Clemson, but it certainly vaulted LSU into number 1, and then it was also that was the big hump game. And boy, Jamar Chase was just too much. Burrow was outstanding. Clyde. My goodness,
game of his life, yeah.
The third down where he shakes one guy and bulls over another guy on 3rd and 10 to keep the chains going, and then when you got to get one more first down to run the clock out, nobody gets 10 yards and 3 downs that way. The whole pile pushes. It was a great team, and I'm going on a lot of shows around the country, and just show me the data that competes with this. 3 or 4 more regular season wins over top 10 teams, and I think half the top 10, you're one of them, so 5 of 9 in the final top 10 you beat.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nothing compares to that.
Yeah, Jimmy, the complete team too. I was taking a look at that video the other day of 2019. Alabama got a perfect onside kick there late. It took a big hop. Justin Jefferson leaps into the air and grabs it and pulls it down to secure things.
And you see Justin Jefferson break Randy Moss's records, his rookie season at Minnesota, and they're like, well, the guy that's coming next year is better. And so, and then Burrow and Chase, so it's just spilling over. But it's I guess it's 2020, and look, we're evolving too, Jacques, and doing that. You just mentioned it. Curly Holman had 4 losing seasons on top of 2. this is the greatest season ever. Not the national championship like Gene Chizik. The greatest college football season ever. And 4-3 into the second year, you launched. So, I mean, win a winning record. I know it was done before the Florida win, but it was done, I mean, officially when you're 4-3. It's different times. I mean, Texas Tech and Georgia Southern have already made coaching hires.
Yeah.
We're set. And I know the early signing period in December as opposed to February speeds things up, and I'm sure that's something that Scott Woodward wants to do. But how is he going to get the big fish that he wants to land if a team is in the middle of a successful season?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to hire a coach that's having a successful season.
I was going back looking at tapes the other day, Jimmy, from 1995. I think it was like January 10th or 15th. LSU hires Jerry DiNardo, and then I think it was January 16th, DiNardo and Carencro to go see Kevin Falk immediately after. So,
It's 15th, huh?
yeah, or early January at least.
And Saban, I know Miles was right after the bowl game. So that was like January 3rd or something, because we broke it, actually before they kicked off against Iowa. So on
That's
January
right.
1st.
You broke that story about Miles being hired, and we got some video here, Jimmy, of Scott Woodward. He's talking to Blake Baker, the linebackers coach, who, by the way, I think has done a very nice job with the LSU. He's gotten a lot of compliments. Stephanie Remp here is Scott Woodward's.
Who's that other guy?
Yeah. I think he got called every Caucasian name in the book when he played, Vanilla Ice and all that. Oh, the great Jacob Hester. And this was at the Ole Miss game, Jimmy, and he almost kind of felt like that Scott Woodward was trying to, console the players and some of the coaches who were caught in the middle of this nasty kind of split with LSU and Ed Orgeron. William Tate, the new...
A lot of people wondered about Tate's influence on this whole thing. I think this is going to be a Scott Woodward's hire. And I'm sure everybody will have a little input. But this is what he was brought here to do. And he's had such a great track record. He goes up to Seattle with Mark Emmert, who goes to be the president at his alma mater, but just not in a sports role, but in an academic role. And then their athletic director resigns. He says, Scott, you love athletics. Why don't you be the interim AD? He is. He hires Sarkisian. Sarkisian does well enough to be hired by USC. He brings in Chris Peterson, who passed on a gazillion much better jobs than Washington. He improves their facilities over there. He comes to Texas A&M, where it's the highest athletic budget in the country, and hires Jimbo Fisher, which LSU couldn't do at that time. Hired Buzz Peterson, comes here, hires Kim Mulkey. I mean, that's not a huge needle pusher normally here, but she's got people fired up, and I mean, and I know it's a kind of a nondescript, and he's hired some volleyball coaches and softball coaches at Seattle and College Station too, but even Jay Johnson, and it hasn't played his first game, but if any indication of what he's doing in recruiting, he's going to be good. I think he's going to be really good. His energy level. Scott Woodward, I don't know he's going to hire Jacques, because kind of what he hires, especially at LSU, he doesn't talk to a whole lot of people. Everybody wants to, that he normally talks to. So whoever's talking usually don't know, and whoever knows ain't talking. And he's the guy, and he's done a lot of the preliminary work for months and months in case this time. If they fire Orgeron at 4-3, he's known for a long time that there was probably going to be a move, that was going to be made. And I just don't think that guys in their first year of a winning season, like Dave Aranda, like Mel Tucker, or ULL, no offense, but you know more than me, but if Nick Saban's at ULL, I don't think LSU hires him, okay? So I can only cross off the lines. I can't tell you if it's a Jimbo Fisher. I can't tell you if it's a Lincoln Riley, an Urban Meyer. I don't know, but how does he have all of this track record where he's made major hires, and this one means way more than all of them put together. This one's in his blood. I mean, this one is, I just don't know how it's not going to be just a strong, like, it's at least a name or something with a lot of juice.
Yeah, we look at his two hires so far here, Jimmy. Kim Mulkey, that was the only name we heard. You know, it was like, okay, if LSU doesn't get her, it's going to be a letdown, whoever it isn't. Mike Scarborough at TigerBait.com says, I've got guys who have never been to a women's basketball game in their life, never had any interest. My numbers are going up big time with Kim Mulkey stuff. They're into it. It's excited them. Jay Johnson, you know, we heard about Kevin O'Sullivan. We heard about Mike Bianco. We heard about Paul Casey, Pat Casey, what was the coach at Oregon State? Pat Casey. And that was all kind of, okay, we all got you to look over here, and the real guy was over here, and Jay Johnson. So I'm kind of thinking about that too. Are the names we hear, and is there some guy that we're not thinking about? But let's just let's talk about Lincoln Riley for a second, okay? So the young offensive guy has come in vogue, right? With the former Texas Tech quarterback now in the NFL, and the Rams head coach. Lincoln Riley, I think, is 38 years old. And at Oklahoma, he's made, I think, 3 playoff appearances. He's lost to SEC teams each time. He's coming to the SEC at some point, we think. That would be a guy that would cost $9 or $10 million a year, wouldn't it?
Normally, oh yeah, oh certainly.
Yeah.
And the thing about normally, I'd say, well, no, he's got a great situation. Why is he going to come down here and get dropped in his hot grease? I mean, you know, he's a star there. There's no pressure at all there, and he's gotten to the thing. Now we all know they're about to make the jump. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that he will be able to have that SEC branding at Oklahoma and get better defensive players where they'll improve to match that great offense that they have? That's part of it. The other thing is LSU, and here, look, we can all debate whether USC or LSU's the better job. Well, we can't debate the facts that LSU's last 3 coaches won a national championship. And there's a wide range of respect from, no matter what you think, but Saban, Orgeron, and Miles. Okay? USC is the place that you get that guy, you need a top program in the country. Okay? And Pete Carroll had them as a top program in the country. But they've had how many coaches since? So you don't necessarily even need the right guy in Baton Rouge to win a national championship, has been proven. So that's the one thing that would get some people's attention that, you know, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and everybody has, and we rank these college jobs all the time, and they're fluid, and they go with different coaches and things like that. Texas and Florida have great resources. Saban has made Alabama a monster. We know about that. Oklahoma, LSU, Auburn. LSU's considered by everybody, to my respect, is top 5 job in the country. Mike Lombardi, who does a lot of stuff I do with VEASAN as well, a longtime executive for Al Davis and the New England Patriots. His son works for the Patriots right now for Belichick. He says LSU's a top 3 job in football.
Including the NFL.
Including the NFL. That's how strong it is. And so, you know, it's a...
Yeah, Jimmy, not to cut you off, but somebody I'm friends with said, when you look back at LSU over the last 20 years, in his opinion, it's not so much what LSU has done, which is next to Alabama, I guess, or you know, better than anybody. 3 national championships in 18 years, but it's almost like what they could have been, you know, if they would have had a. And no offense to Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, who I enjoyed covering and won a lot of games in national championships, but could it have been a lot more?
Terry Saban, first time she toured the place, sleeping giant.
Yeah.
I mean, and since Saban came in, he's raised the administrative support. They've restructured the ticket situation to, and it's hurt. It's made Tiger Stadium a little bit more fair weather. You know, it's got to be the right opponent, right time, right weather, and stuff like that. But still, you've got way more resources to compete at the highest level. And I mean, come on, we have 1 in 58. Now we've had 3, the last 3 coaches. And so that's one thing that's attainable. But you also had the guy pulling the trigger who's gotten the unattainable guy. I mean, you couldn't get USC can't get Chris Peterson. How's Washington going to go get him? He got him.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
LSU couldn't get him. Well, when's A&M won anything? I mean, really? They got a lot of money. They got some cool ass band.
They fire that cannon a lot. Boy, oh man, I got a headache. Kick the ball off, cannon there.
Nice collie, but all the money in the world. But still, it's just like, what have they done? And he got Jimbo, where LSU couldn't get him. So he's gotten who gets Kim Mulkey out of Baylor?
Yeah.
I mean, so he's gotten the unattainable already. So.
Well,
Riley's and some of these others are in play.
Yeah, let's talk about Jimbo, because some people have Jimbo fatigue, and I joke, Jimmy, that Jimbo's like
Here at College Station.
here at LSU, like they're tired of the name coming up, and maybe the name has lost some luster in their opinion. I don't know, but I joke that he's like the Olympics. He comes around every 4 years. It seems like, in terms of talking about the LSU job. But Scott Woodward for years maybe in the back of his brain said, I'm going to go back to LSU and one day I'm going to make Jimbo Fisher my head coach. I don't know about that. He's only 56 years old. He beat Alabama this year, lost a couple of other games to Arkansas.
Great recruiting season going this year.
Great recruiting season. And if he comes to LSU, obviously he's not competing with Texas, who I'm told until the end of time, Texas will rule the state of Texas, not Texas A&M. So what do you think?
Texas is big brother, but boy, A&M's whooping them on the field.
Yeah.
Right now. So I mean, another name is your boy at Iowa State just beat Matt Campbell just beat Texas for the third straight year with as little resources as there is in the Big 12. But Jimbo, keep in mind, it was Saban's most important hire on his original staff. Opposite ball, Saban's defensive guy, opposite ball coordinator, and Jimbo was that guy. And he and Rodriguez, and also his name might as well be Bowden. He was a Bobby Bowden guy. He was brothers basically with those guys. And Jimbo's done things. Some people are saying his offense isn't quite the spread. It's still more some traditional sort of concepts to it. But Jimbo is a solid coach. Whether people get tired of it, his name coming up or things like that, maybe not. I don't know if he's can leave or not. I just don't know. Texas coming in to the SEC, that cuts in to their sell job, their pitch, saying that we're the only school in Texas that you can go to, the top league in the country, the SEC. But hey, we know that Woody and Jimbo are very tight.
Autumn, what was that? I'm sorry, you can tell us. We're live here, but it's fine.
It's Tuesday, Autumn.
Just make sure Mike 2 is piped all the way up.
Okay, all right. Mike 2's piped all the way up. All right. So, yeah, Jimbo Fisher here. We'll see. I mean, obviously, he's a safe hire, right? I mean, if you'd hire Jimbo, I think you're going to get 9 or 10 wins a year at least. You're not going to cave and fall off a cliff like we've seen the last 2 years.
Has he improved Texas A&M?
Yes.
Has he brought stability to that program?
Yes.
So it's just a matter of getting over that hump. Okay, and that's tough. It's tough in the Saban, Bama era. Now, with Texas and Oklahoma coming, Auburn and Alabama are probably not going to be permanents for LSU. So that's going to change some. And, even though A&M's giving him all the money, is LSU a better job? Well, we just commented on it. I mean, the last 3 coaches have been to have won national championships at LSU. A&M, have they won a conference championship in the last 20 years?
I'd have to go back and look. 1998, they were pretty good, right? Was that R.C. Slocum? And that's 23 years ago. I think they went to the Sugar Bowl or something. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's way back.
You in this COVID year, you beat North Carolina team that sat like their top 4 players, in the bowl game. It's not, it's a better job. So I just don't know if he's ready to jump. But I tell you one thing, Jacques, that's the one name that's getting a little bit more smoke. We'll have to see if there's some fire there.
Let's see here if I can move down my videos here. All right, Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker has only been a head coach. This is only his 3rd year being a head coach at Michigan State. He's got a great background of pro and college experience. He was at Alabama with Saban, I believe, in recent years, and, of course, here at LSU. Only 1 year in 2000 with Saban, but also at Georgia as well. They had, I guess, a hangover game, right, Jimmy? They beat Michigan where they were sky high. That was the game of the week, and then they lose to Purdue the following week. This would obviously be a historic hire. LSU's never had an African-American head football coach, and we all know that they've got their first ever African-American president at the university who may want a person of color. So, Mel Tucker.
I just don't think this is not a Scott Woodward hire.
Not big enough splash.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he had a losing season at Colorado. He cashed in and left a $3 million deal at Boulder because Michigan State was in such a tough spot. They were desperate, and they're paying him $5.5 million. We mentioned James Franklin, okay? And James Franklin's been winning for how long? About 11 years at Vanderbilt and Penn State. Bill Tucker, this is his first winning season. They make the same money. They both make $5.5 million. Tucker is what he did also is evolved in the sense that nobody did a better job in the transfer portal than him, including getting the running back Walker, who's an even money choice, the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy right now, and he was unbelievable in that Michigan game. And the Michigan game had a lot of splash to it. I mean, it's the best game we've seen all year, them coming back from 16 to win it. But they also had some tough calls go against Michigan. On the downside, his side of the ball, too, they're horrible as far as pass defense. The Purdue wide receiver had over 200 yards and a touchdown. They threw for like 400. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, threw for 383 against them. So they're one of some of the poorer numbers. When it's all said and done, they're going to be about a top 15, top 20 team. Not close. That was a little bit too much, at number 3. But it's kind of recency bias with the committee members. But they've had a good year. They've had a great year compared to what they were last year. And I'm not going to kill him or Miranda for the 2020 year. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough coming in the COVID year and stuff like that. Both have had really good years, but 1 year winning, that's not a Scott Woodward hire.
Yeah, and some people say, oh, well, it was the same as Saban. Saban had a lot more head coaching experience than Mel Tucker, but when he left Michigan State, I think he had been at Toledo and Kent State, and I think he had 5 years at Michigan.
He played at Kent State.
Played at Kent State.
He won a year there, and it was a steady climb up to Michigan State, and his last team beat a Steve Spurrier team in the Capital One Bowl.
To go 10-2, I think. Best team.
And so, beat real good Ohio State team, number 1 at their place one time. But I mean, he had built something.
Right.
So it was a nice build job. And unlike Nick Saban, Mel Tucker has not turned down 2 NFL head coaching jobs, which Saban turned down the Lions and the Giants already before he came to Baton Rouge.
And so you talked a little bit too about. I've been told, or I've kind of heard, 4 or 5 people would have to say no before he would fall to a guy like Billy Napier, who you referenced earlier. And Billy Napier is going to be a star, and he has done extraordinary things at UL Lafayette. To think that they would be ranked in the top 25 and having 10-win seasons and stuff.
Right. No, he's done an awesome job.
Yeah.
And it's not just 1 year.
Right.
It's in his stability.
Right.
I mean, he's brought success, but stability. He's not just done it 1 year. And I can't say enough about Billy Napier. I just don't. He's just not your typical Scott Woodward hire as far as this is concerned as well. Now, of all the lists, he's turned down more SEC jobs than everybody put together. South Carolina, Mississippi State, a conditional offer at Auburn.
Right.
They wanted him to keep 2 assistants, including Trooper Taylor, for recruiting. I mean, no, you don't tell. If you think enough of your coach you're going to hire, you don't tell him who to. If he wants to keep those guys, he'll do it. So that conditional, he's getting a good job. He's getting a very good job. I don't know if it's going to be anywhere from a TCU to is Florida going to open. Not sure. But he's going to get a very good job. I just don't think he's the candidate for LSU.
And Dave Aranda also having great success at Baylor. Very intelligent guy, the king of halftime adjustments, right, defensively. Why he was run off or kind of nudged out the door after 2019, that will be another thing that Ed Orgeron reflects upon as the years run.
Yeah, but if Baylor offered him, he was still going to go.
Yeah. Well, were they considering the Nevada? What was the other job that came open? UNLV job too. Yeah, before that.
And Baylor's a good job. Baylor is up the ante in the last 10 or 15 years. Allow Browse, allow Matt Rule to have success. That's a name that kind of gets me excited in his second year at Carolina. I don't know, but that's another name that has been thrown out there. It just comes again. Mel Tucker, Dave Aranda, on their first year as a winning coach. I'm not ready to. It's just not.
Yeah, just not enough hay in the barn.
Nothing that Woodward has done, has that type of track record to it. Aranda, keep in mind too, probably more of a candidate at USC than he is at LSU with his, his California roots. He's from California. How many of these guys we're talking about actually have California roots? He does.
Jimmy, one name that I brought up right in the beginning, just because I knew he had a strong offensive line background and he had really coached, recruited well with Nick Saban in recent years at Alabama, recruited offensive linemen and whatnot, was Mario Cristobal. His name doesn't really seem to be coming up that much. He's being described to me more of a CEO type like Orgeron. He's not really a mind on either side of the ball, but having a lot of success at Oregon.
he's recruiting better than anybody in Pac-12, and it's not even close. And I mean, his personnel is just much better now. He has flat out blown a couple of games in the last 3 years against Stanford. Again, one of those this year with poor clock management, and even in the game in Seattle on Saturday night, he's trying to, punch in a touchdown at the end when he's already blown a couple of games because they were running the ball instead of taking a nig.
Quirky fit, be a quirky fit.
But he's done it. They are the best program. He's got the Nike money in Eugene.
Yep.
But I'm sorry, USC should be able to recruit as good, if not better, than Oregon, and he's beat them.
Mm-hmm.
He's beaten them bad. Crushed them in recruiting. So, a lot of people thought he might go back to Florida because that's where, his roots are, and playing days and coaching days and things like that. And he's already had a coaching job down there. He's a guy that's a little bit more established, I think, than Tucker and Aram.
What assistants do you think have a shot of sticking around with the new head coach? Obviously, Corey Raymond is going to be the first one that comes to mind. Does Mickey Joseph have a chance? And, Kevin Falk is fresh to this coaching thing at this level.
Those are all interesting guys because, first of all, they're all Louisiana guys. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Corey and Kevin, played for LSU. And nobody has delivered more players than Corey Raymond. He has just he's been lights out. So it depends, Jacques, on what this guy's current staff is. Say one of his best assistants is his DB coach. What do you do
right.
there? Mickey Joseph's done a good job in the New Orleans area recruiting. Kevin Falk is, he's as LSU gets. And, to have those guys, be a part of the staff is a big deal. But that's impossible to know until we know who the coach is. Once we find out who the coach is, then we will have a much clearer picture of who he might bring.
I almost feel guilty, Jimmy. We look forward to the LSU football season all year, and it's gotten here, and then I feel like the games themselves, you only get 12 of them a year in the regular season, have kind of become an afterthought because of the head coaching thing. But after LSU's performance against Alabama, let's talk about the quarterback situation with LSU. So Max Johnson, man, if LSU's offense would have played half as well, even a third as well as the defense against Alabama, we're talking about an upset of the Crimson Tide. The 4th and 7 call, I think you kick there. The way you're playing defense, easy for me to second guess, but Garrett Nussmeier will get a look this week. He'll get some action.
I didn't know if he would get down there again. It really wasn't something that I know the broadcasters talked about. It didn't really enter my mind too much, so I'm not going to sit here and say you shoulda, woulda, coulda, and guess that because, again, I wasn't even thinking a field goal when they were down 6 at that point, even though you've got a great kicker. We know that.
Mm-hmm. The defense was lights out.
I'm puzzled why we haven't gotten more of an evaluation for Doug Nussmeier. And whether the red shirt or the red shirt, come on, man, forget that. You don't think about that. Walker Howard is coming, huh? He's pretty highly thought of, huh? That son of a gun broke his leg and he's out there scoring 62 last Friday.
That's right.
we think the world of Walker Howard, and so are you going to get more of an evaluation? I've seen enough of Max Johnson. I know what he can do and what he can't do. And to be honest, I'm not sure if you could throw Nussmeier in this game and got a different result. You may have, okay, at the end. But had you started to evaluate Nussmeier once the thing was complete, and you're basically a lame duck coach, if you start evaluating guys like Nussmeier, maybe a guy with a few reps gets in there, it could have been done. Because I'm sorry, and I know Johnson's play and sort of his skittishness is part of a product of being beat so much this year. He's taking a pounding. But damn it, when you got a chance to beat Alabama and Bryant Denny, hang in there and make a throw. And he didn't. He's bailing. And man, I need a guy that's going to get in there and hang in there. But in that situation arises, everybody has put so much effort and so much pride in going out there and playing them guys off their feet and having that spot. Stand in there and make a throw. I know you've been beat all year, but you got to stand in there one time and make the throw. He's late with his progressions too. He's hesitant, and he doesn't have a big arm or great athleticism to overcome those things. He's got to be sharp. He's got to really be precise, and it hasn't been. Yes, you take away your number one guy, maybe the best receiver in the country, in Keyshawn Boutte.
Right.
But to me, I'm thinking like, are they trying to run Nussmeier off? Is he going to? How do you not evaluate him right now with this season's basically a throwaway season?
Well, and every player, it seems like, is on a 3-year countdown to the NFL anyway. The days of guys saying, I dreamed of playing for the LSU Tigers. It's my life. I think there's so guys who love playing for LSU, but they seem to be thinking more about the NFL. How quickly can I get in the league?
As a parent, it's not an entitlement, too. What you want for your kids as players is opportunity. Is Nussmeier guaranteed an opportunity next year?
No.
Let's see what he's got now. I got to see I know what Johnson has. I've seen enough. I want to see Nussmeier.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's the answer to produce you better results for an evaluation period. And this is part of the problem where you have a staff that's all on their way out the door. So, I mean, but you need to evaluate some of the guys and get them some reps. I think if you evaluate and give him an opportunity, he's less likely, and some others are less likely to transfer out. Because we know that transfer portal is thick.
Ed Orgeron says that he'll split the reps with Max Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier in practice.
Fact, huh?
Yeah.
A little late.
Yeah. I mean, there's some interest. I mean, I've enjoyed covering the coach. I mean, and everything. There was his bye-week analysis was pretty brutal, right? We're too predictable on offense. We're too predictable on defense, formation.
Now I got to tell my boy Roscoe, okay? Nothing comes out of Orgeron's mouth that's going to please anybody right now, okay? I mean, nothing's going to come out of his mouth. I just want to see the actions, and I just don't get where you have not gotten Nussmeier and evaluating him, give an opportunity a little bit more to this point.
So they got 3 games left. I've seen 5 and 7 teams get into the postseason in the past, but I had a real casual conversation with Scott Woodward the other day. I said, you need to win 2, right? You need 6 wins to get in the bowl. He said, yeah, we need 6 wins. So they need 2 out of 3 against these final 3.
That was that one year where they extended it.
Yeah.
In last year.
Didn't have enough teams to fill the bowls.
Correct.
Or whatever.
Some of those bowls have gone by the wayside. And then last year, because you played only conference games, there's a lot of conference teams that are usually in, having 500 or better records that didn't last year that were allowed to get in bowl games.
LSU would have gone at 5-5 last year, but they turned it down as a self-imposed NCAA infraction thing. So they got to. We think they'll beat UL Monroe, and then they need to win 1 out of 2 against Arkansas and Texas A&M to get a bowl game, get those 15 extra practices, and try to get some positive momentum for 2022.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it doesn't exactly blow the VU meter out the roof of Gasparilla.
You don't want to go to the Liberty Bowl and.
No, does the Liberty Bowl have the worst? It's like the Independence Bowl and the Liberty Bowl, like neck and neck as far as the worst weather every year. Huh? I mean, those people never get a break.
The 85. Awful game.
I was in school at the time, and so I was friends with a lot of the guys, and so they just, instead of having a chartered flight or going, they took their travel portion and pocketed it and all got up there on their own. Well, Norman Jefferson from Everett returned a punt for a touchdown, and they just shut it down. I mean, they did not want to be there. It was a poor representation. No, I don't want to go back to the Liberty Bowl. Even AutoZone's great. Look, go get your batteries over there. They're real friendly, but.
Yeah, Coach O Monday said he wanted sunshine and palm trees or a beachy destination. So, Gator Bowl maybe. I don't think they're going to be good enough to make the Citrus or.
He'll be on the beach. Orgeron will take some time off. He's going to be at the beach, running, driving with the shirt off and, enjoying himself. And he deserves a little time off, But I mean, and I don't. They say he's not going to get into coaching. I still think he's got some years left to be a defensive line coach.
Please don't go to Alabama. That's all we ask, Coach O. Just don't go to Alabama.
Gee, I didn't even thought that. I think he's got a little bit too much money in the bank to put to get spoken to, like Stan speaks to his staff.
Jimmy, I think I have to run out to LSU practice here in a few minutes. Tell people about your show right now. Obviously, you've been in this market for many, many years. You'd have to be, as Will Wade would say, have you been living under a rock to not notice how sports gambling has really come on so strong?
It's legal now.
It's legal. Right, that helps, right?
You actually can do it, as of a week ago. And, man, I mean, it just adds interest to the game. You know, you get a stake in the game, no doubt it's going to do it. And we knew that this was coming, so we shifted some things when it was a decision to kind of split Charlie and I. Well, we couldn't do that for long. He's back with me 3 times a week, so it's a lot of fun. A lot of strategy, and you're breaking down data more than anybody is doing around. And so when you got a stake in the game, you have a vested interest. You're trying to do it, and there's a lot of new people doing it. There's some respected people that have been doing it for a long time. There's some people that are trying to cash in, on the massive advertising dollars that they have. But it's, hey, I'm all about just welcoming people aboard. And the ones I respect, some people have been doing it only 5 years. Some people have been doing it 50 years. I mean, Bruce Marshall went to Super Bowl I. So it's fun. It's fun. It's something that it's a passion of mine, and so. No, it's good to make it part of the
and this guy,
the show.
And Jimmy, this guy right here, I think I remember in his opening press conference when Scott Woodward was named the AD, I think I remember him saying something along the lines of, Louisiana sports gambling, we need to do this, we need to get on board with this.
Scott's a progressive thinker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, he is, he's not going to leave a dollar, unturned. I mean, whether it's the beer and, imagine, it was unheard of, to have beer in Tiger Stadium. So, it's just a lot of the different things, but I think also doing it with a pulse that he doesn't want to just push the tailgaters out or, have it. If he doesn't generate some of the money like this, he's got to ask for donations, he's got to go up on ticket prices, whatever it is. So he's got the fan, the season ticket holder at heart, but no, what he's. And that's why I don't sweat it. Roscoe calls me every morning and wears me out. I'm like, hey, relax. Woody's got it. He's going to hire a good coach. You don't have to sweat him bringing in somebody who's just like the flavor of the month.
Jimmy, I'm telling you, man, I'm nervous, okay? I'm nervous. Roscoe, you're the best, man. You're the best, Roscoe. And Jimmy, you're Jimmy Ott, 7 to 9 every night, right?
You've been doing this now, man. Huh? In this market.
20 years. Just made 20 years.
Just made 20, good.
March of 2001, they brought me in here. I was 15. No, I'm just kidding.
I do appreciate the coverage of high school sports, and when you got a kid playing high school sports, but it's kind of fun to go back and watch.
I will tell you this: high school games are kind of hard to remember, but I just want to say that Dunham Episcopal game. I was there, and typically I got to get out of there and get back to the station. I kept texting Steve, I can't leave this game. Steve, I can't leave this game. I got in here at 10:55 for the last block of Sports Line to get those highlights on the air. What a game. 44-40, I think, Episcopal.
Yeah, double pass with 20 seconds to go.
Yeah.
To win it 44-40. 5 lead change the second half, 2 in the last 2 minutes.
A shame there was a loser. Neil Weiner, love Neil Weiner and Dunham. They played a great game too, but you guys just made that huge rally.
That's great. No, they're a great program. It's a great series. It's the tuition bowl. They get out there. I mean, it's good to have a rivalry where you see the kids get a little extra juiced up for it.
And high school football playoffs this week opening round. Jimmy Ott, thanks so much, man.
All right, Shot.
Thanks for coming down, and hope you enjoyed this out here. We had a great time talking LSU football. Don't forget to please share and like this content. We need more subscribers to our WAP YouTube page, and let's keep growing this thing and moving it forward. Obviously, we'll keep having these great chats as LSU looks to hire a football coach. We'll see you later.